And it is, Jess is going to be present by
Video.
video. Is she already? Hola, Jessica. Like that's probably what they call you in Spain. So we're so glad you're here. And Dr. George will be here at 4:30. So, well, first thing, just credit to Jay-Z, to Dr. Zara, who thought this up, you know, in the middle of I don't know what. Not El Salvador because it was going to be there, but anyway,
Summer.
Credit to you for the persistence, and then CRS helped us find. You thought of the what, and they helped us with the where, and so now we've got the support of CRS and the missionary sisters. Yesterday, you would have gotten a kick out of me. We put it on speakerphone. I spoke with Sister Hermana Concepcion with the sisters, and I said she didn't want to speak English, and I didn't want to speak Spanish, but she won, so I spoke Spanish. But every time I'd say, a little slower, please, and she'd speak slowly for about this long, and then she'd keep it, you know, it's like telling a little kid to walk instead of run. Yeah. So Father Michael was helping me with that, because he lived in Mexico, so he's very friendly, as will Jessica.
I tell her to speak English, and then she speaks 2 sentences in English, and then it's all Spanish.
Right, oh, really? Really? Then it just goes right into that. Yeah. So, well, why don't we get started? And I'll tell you kind of how I see this unfolding. These are these great little folders that the student workers help us to make.
Thank you.
I've got it. Yeah, it's been a busy day in the Wilkington Center, Christine. Yeah, she's waiting to see if I can manage that. Yeah, that'll be Jess. Yeah, that'll be for Jess. There she is. See, Jess, we're thinking of you. So what I thought here's my hope, that coming out of this at the end, I'm hoping I have a list of questions that we didn't touch on. Things you want to know, your parents want to know. I want to know what those things are, because there's no way we're going to touch on it all. You're not going to walk out having downloaded the whole history of Guatemala, all the travel information you need. It's not going to happen, you know. And I know we will try to have another orientation in January, but there's certain things that you need some advanced time to do, and other things that I'll need. You know, I'm learning about. I know a lot about El Salvador. I don't know a whole lot about Guatemala, so I'll be learning too. So my goals are that we walk out with everybody having some basic idea of who, why, and where, and how. And those are my tokens from Juarez. They come to the initiation of every trip.
Oh, that's
yeah.
great.
They were bought in Juarez right along the border.
I
Yeah.
just didn't want that.
Oh, well, Jess could see that. If you can hold it up for Jess to see. Those are the people in a circle. That's us in solidarity, right? There you go. So that's
This
us.
is Jay-Z.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to multiply that by
Yeah.
2.5 to have the whole group.
See, Jess?
There,
Beautiful.
that's us.
Yay.
Yay. So,
Can you move it closer?
and the other thing is not only information to exchange, and I'm afraid, you know, kind of hand you information, getting questions, also getting, when Dr. George is here especially, kind of a little bonding. Just, we want to share a little when she comes in. Normally, if everybody was here, we would kind of start the meeting, why do you want to do this? You know, to kind of just say, what are your hopes or your fears? What are your visions and hopes for what this could be? And I'd like to do that, mainly because it'll help, I think, us get to know her and all of us to feel like a group. And Jess, you can do it too, and wherever you're sitting in Spain. But because she's coming later, we'll do that at 4:30. So as I say, even while we're talking, if you have questions that you don't wait for a certain moment, if you have them, you can either email them now or write them down, because I'll want to follow up. In some cases, I'd like to end the meeting saying, when we get together again, you know, Jillian will do something for us about coffee, you know, in Guatemala, or Carol will do a little interesting research on the Guatemalan woman who got the Nobel Prize. I mean, I'm making this up. You don't have to. But there's interesting things that I think we could share the next time, you'll have a little more time and just to maybe come back prepared to share some piece of the puzzle that's this Guatemala trip that may be valuable for what you want to film, or it may help you understand more about what you're hearing. Let's say, if Christine did something about the 36-year Civil War, which will come up a lot in stories and in dialogue with people. So I'm kind of hoping that next session can be maybe everybody throwing something into the pot of a piece of this that interests them, and they've done a little research on it, especially if it's going to help the quality of what you're able to hear and share out of this document you're making.
So if we have questions, write them down.
Yeah, I would say, write them down, and I'll just be, they may get answered by what I planned, they may not, but we'll go from here. So I guess I'll start with, no need to go around this room, but we will when Dr. George gets here. So, well, Kathy,
if I could just say,
go ahead, Jerry.
When I talked to Ann Boteri, I was telling Kathy, she's from St. Anselm's,
right.
And she put the idea in Marie's head of hiring a professional videographer to come with us, which would take some of the pressure off. See, the trip is really has multiple purposes, and I think that's what we're going to run into pretty quickly. Part of it has to be them, the students, and all of us learning and filming the power of partnerships. But then there's that meta video about Marie George with students learning about partnerships.
And please keep turning this camera around.
I believe that there needs to be at least 3. I mean, I understand that 3 people in a group, but I think we're coming into the point where we're like, okay, well, these people haven't worked together. Like, we're all trying to be new and like branch out and work with other people so that we're not all working with the same. But it's also like, oh, I want to do that one, but like that idea, but then I also want to do that idea too. So I think that there needs to be some way where we can be like interchangeable almost, where one day like this group does this so that it's all the same. Like,
I think there should be some time when some people are not on duty doing your video work, where you can be learning for yourself
and experiencing.
Yeah. So I don't want I don't want them always to be feeling the pressure of having to be doing the video work. I think they need to be absorbing, so they can.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the next step pieces that I don't necessarily have to be part of, or Dr. George, is that you all will have to figure out how do you land in Guatemala, having not been there before, and do this. I mean, my son just did something like this in Chile over the summer, but he was there for 3 weeks, and it was in one place. So he had more time to sort of absorb what it is. It was a repetitive, it was a corporation that was donating eyeglasses and the services of eye doctors, ophthalmologists. So, but this is going to be a different piece of the story every few hours. So you may kind of want to plan ahead, but I would say every breakfast or every dinner, you kind of think, let's try this tomorrow. Because you're going to find that the situations are going to call for flexibility and, a balance between you as learners, absorbers of this new culture, and you as documenters. So you can write a little handbook on this afterwards, really, because I hope that future groups of students can, there's no way we're not going to make some mistakes. We're going to say, gee, I wish if I had to do it over again. That's going to happen. But I think it's going to be terrifically valuable. So I think it's just terrific. So,
Jill, I think you guys are nimble enough that we can wait until we get a schedule more precisely of what we're going to do and plan it out. We'll have a general idea before we go, but even on the plane, we'll.
Okay, because just the way that we've been talking about it now, it's like these 3 groups, we don't talk, you do everything.
Yeah,
and that's the way that I see
I think that I think that we both know, like, if I film something and you guys need it, like I think stuff like that is understood anyway.
Right.
So
is there any way, instead of us looking at 2 separate groups, if we look at us as like a whole and then like helping each other out, and we know we need to get these 2 projects done, but at the same time, like, we're 6 individuals like formed as like one group, because I know like we're always thinking like, oh, like these three in a group and then these three, or oh no, these three. Like instead of having two groups of three, because that's what we're trying to figure out. Instead of doing that, is there any way we can just consider ourselves one group of six, and we have these two major
and then
projects?
Once we get home, we edit.
And then
whatever.
like editing and stuff, we'll figure out who can do that.
I mean, we've already talked about it.
If there is a professional video person covering Dr. George, that will work.
Yeah.
If there's not, then it won't work.
Right.
Because there will have to be one group that's just doing her.
Okay.
Well,
So that you have continuity.
Yeah.
right,
Mhm.
right, okay. Well, we're gonna bounce back and forth in this session too about the micro stuff, and there are lots of micro issues. You know, where do you put the cameras when you're not using them? I mean, all that, and sort of macro things about the why are we going, the mission. So we'll have to kind of get mentally agile about that, and some of that production discussion. You may find after this discussion today, you may have a better picture of how you want to set this up. You may, because even though Dr. Zurich's been on a number of these, every one learning from one, some of that learning carries over, but the settings are so different, and the personalities and the culture are very different, and the pace. So unlike going, some of the things you've covered, you've been able to, like when you went to Camden, you were kind of with that family for an afternoon, and you kind of were able to research and immerse yourself into that. And this will be, it will be hard to really experience, make sense of it, and then think, oh, that's the story there, and then go back. We may not have a chance to go back in some cases. So the editing, some of it may be, I'm going to take notes on it, or I'm going to set up the camera like this so that I can still experience it and then make editorial decisions later. So I'm sure Dr. George and I are going to learn some things about,
it's really
communication.
good to discuss the purpose, and I think that's what they're trying to get in their heads now.
Exactly.
There's going to be times when they can't always be on duty doing the videography. And that's my main point. They have to have time when they are learning and experiencing, when a subset will be on duty doing the video. Because you can't really be experiencing when you have a camera as a barrier between you and the people you're with.
Yeah. Jill?
Sorry. I'm also really scared. I mean, because in here, in the United States, like you can take a video camera and shoot something, but is it different culture to just have a video camera in their face like that? Like that's another thing that I'm really nervous about.
Right. Well, that's why we will have to take cues. I mean, we're talking with them now in letters and emails and on the phone about this, and so that our guides will know that we will have to have multiple conversations. So there are cultural issues, especially like with the missionary sisters, some of the people, the three issues they deal with are health and nutrition and domestic violence. Well, we all know from our experiences here that some of those women definitely wouldn't probably want to be on camera. But others may be embarrassed that they have to bring their child to a nutrition center. So we're going to have to take cues in a way just as we would here with some of these social service places. So we've got the two dimensions of social service and culture, and we'll just have to be in really good communication with our hosts and count on them. So those are really good questions. The only thing I can say, Jill, is we will have to just engage in trusting, frank discussions. That's really what it comes down to. Yeah. So. Yeah,
I was just wondering, just so we don't look totally ignorant to the culture, will we learn like basic phrases or statements before we go?
Yes, well, interesting that you asked that, Brittany, because Dr. George has made it really clear. She took Spanish in high school and college, and she wants to polish that up. And she said, I thought she was kidding at one of these receptions. She said, I thought, what do you think about 3 days a week? And I thought she meant 3 days 1 week. No, she means 3 days a week before we go.
She's starting Spanish lessons.
She's starting on Friday.
I bought I had the Rosetta Stone, and I'm trying to learn that way. But
okay.
I figured if we can go maybe before closer to the trip, Just so we don't stand there while someone's interpreting.
Right.
So we can have a direct connection.
And it is, that's another, I mean, you're asking really good questions. It is awkward, and you feel that you want it, you know that this person's smiling and telling you something important, and then you have to say un momento, or you get someone to help you and translate. So I'll do the best I can with that. Dr. George may be able to. I'm about a B minus Spanish speaker, and I'm mainly good because I'm fearless. I'll just do it.
She's very good.
I'm pretty good just because I'll try it, and if I don't remember what that's called, I'll call it the thing made out of a lot of papers. There's always a way to say it. Maybe it's not the right way, but
they understand you.
They do, and we will have a translator with us at 2 of the 3 locations I've figured out. So we're working on it.
Yeah.
Jess will speak Spanish. So, but you're right about just the what it shows about us as Americans, that we've at least learned how to say nice to meet you, thank you, please.
Have you all taken Spanish here?
Yeah.
So
we'll brush up that.
Yeah, but we'll bring either Father Michael in one time. He's really good.
He's very good.
Or one of the Spanish teachers to teach us some. I already asked them if they could help me, use a little more flowery language for introducing the group, because that's one cultural thing. They are big into introductions, whereas here, hey, that's all. Hey, I'm from Philly. But there, it's much more.
My mom can teach us some stuff.
Oh,
That's not a good idea.
I'll talk to her. My grandmother's from Cuba.
Okay.
So there's Spanish in my house. I can understand it.
Yes.
But I can't speak back.
Okay. Well,
So-
that's good.
Yeah. But maybe and we all live close enough, and you live.
Christine can come too.
Christine will just come over the bridge. I think
Okay.
that over break we could get together.
Good.
I think that's a good idea.
Good. Well, why don't we just start? And because you all are asking terrific questions, and I'm going to go through this PowerPoint, but I first want to show you, I think this prayer that I found is exactly answering some of the questions that you just asked. It's on the 3rd page. There's this nice little cover, and there's this...
Did you make this?
Well, with help in the Wolfington Center, yeah. And it's not completed because, for instance, the MSCs don't have a website for Guatemala.
Yeah, I looked. Yeah.
And so, but I'm going to gather some stuff and put it in later, and you'll get it. But if you look on the 3rd page, Kara, would you mind just reading that? I mean, I just love it. It's short as can be, but I think it sort of gets to the point.
If you have come to help me, you are wasting your time. But if you have come because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let us work together.
And I don't know what you think of that. This is attributed to an Aboriginal Australian woman who was working with a Catholic Charities organization in Australia. And I don't know, what do you think of it, Megan? What do you think?
I like it.
I mean, it's
kind
kind
of.
of. What do you see what I mean?
Like,
do you think
I don't
it's like
mean it that way,
rude,
but-
or what do you think? What do you think?
No, I think because a lot of people always say oh, I want to help, but helping's not always the way to look at it. So I think it's really good. I like it. It's a different way of looking at it.
Yeah. And anybody else have a thought? I think, to me, it sort of represents what our new curriculum is trying to do. That we are so known for service, tell us what you need, we will try to provide it, which is a completely wonderful thing. We don't ever not want to do that, but we don't want to stop there, because that will never give people the option to be masters of their own lives. And so I think that kind of sense of solidarity that she said in her 2 sentences there is really powerful. And it's very much the spirit in which the 3 groups we're going to visit are working. It's not, lucky you, we're helping you, we're pouring this in. It's, tell us what you need. And this is a message from, is this your email, Jared?
No, it's reminding me that I was supposed to go to dinner with Jack McNamee.
Oh,
But
okay. Okay. Got it. So now, if Kathy, if you were able to put that PowerPoint in, and it's not on the screen, but I guess we can.
Well, you know what? Do you want to take it up near you and just aim it toward us and talk?
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. Megan, maybe if you move down one, and then I'll be able to put it like here.
we did run out of these folders for Jess, because I forgot to keep.
There's actually
There's 10, there's one here.
Oh,
There's
okay,
10
that's
of
Jess then.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, this is for her. So,
Now, Mary, you're coming
Yes.
with us, right?
yes,
Okay.
I am.
So
For
it's
better or
everyone in
worse.
here
Everyone-
plus Jess and Dr. Stewart.
Exactly, so there's 10 of us.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Just have the PowerPoint.
She will.
She will.
So
She does.
should I put it on Mary or the PowerPoint?
I'm married.
Okay.
Mary.
So
Okay.
sooner or later.
Okay, yeah, she will have, Jess will send that to you. Yeah. So, if anybody thinks of a better name, I mean, I said Partnerships in Education for Justice. I wanted to put justice in there, but,
justice matters.
Yeah.
justice matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then is it this to advance it?
Anything.
Return, anything.
Return,
Anything
okay.
you hit.
All right, yeah. Okay, so the who, the why, the where, and the how. And I know the how, we have a ton of questions about that, but we'll kind of go through you all know who the who are. And that's actually, this PowerPoint is actually in the booklet.
Oh, wonderful.
I've learned my lesson about, computers. What if there was a brownout or I don't know what. So this is the low-tech PowerPoint right here. Right, there you
did
go.
wonderfully.
Yeah, and by the way, if you want to show things down there, I guess I'll ask them, but I don't know whether they have Wi-Fi or what. I
Renee.
didn't ask that yet.
Renee made this, didn't she?
Yes, she did. How
Put
can
my
you
name
tell?
at the top.
No,
No, it's alphabetically.
Oh, that's funny. Well, and it was funny that just pure alphabetizing,
Oh, that's
Dr.
funny.
George came out first.
Yeah.
So, and there you go, Dr. Zurich came out
Of
last.
course.
So what do you not much you can do with
I'm
that.
concerned that he's gonna get the single room.
That is a
I had
legitimate
not even
concern.
thought about
Yes, that is going to happen.
that. Unless we want to live in sin.
Oh!
Okay.
Years.
And
Are you going to talk about like where we're staying
yeah,
now too?
yeah,
It's in the
yeah,
PowerPoint.
Yeah, yeah.
All right,
It's
I'm not going
It's
to
there.
jump.
Just
Okay.
wait for the
All
PowerPoint
right,
then.
yeah, we'll get there. We're going to go through the
I
whole
jump ahead, I'm
who
sorry.
Mary, there is no, this is not a linear group.
No, I see that. Yes. Okay.
We just go.
just
and
know
everything.
And that's completely cool. This is a little, I guess, maybe because I knew it was communications folks, I thought it would be good. I don't know.
It's
you're
great.
doing good.
No,
You're
you're
doing
really
good.
good.
I'm impatient. I'm
No
extremely
graphic. I
impatient.
understand. Okay.
No.
And this is kind of my line that I put with much less mature people than we are at the bottom, that we represent the mission and core values of Cabrini College and the ideals of liberal arts education in the U.S. And when I write that, I think of the kid 5 years ago on the border in Juarez who bought a whip and showed it off during dinner on the Annunciation House.
Right.
So these are not issues that you're gonna
Right.
we're gonna have, right? Or the the other
For the
kid.
students we took to Maryknoll House in New York, who found beer, got drunk, on the 5th floor, went out on the ledges and peed 5 floors down.
Okay.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
We didn't go
Did you
back.
get that, Jess?
We did not go back to Maryknoll.
No, I guess not. I guess not. So, in any case, my little line here is, but kidding aside, it actually is something to be aware of, because as people will come up to you, and this has happened to me a number of cases where someone will come up to me and ask me as if I represent the State Department, if I can help them get in the country, or ask them about could I go to Cabrini College, or what's it like for women, So in a way, you represent a lot more than you think you do.
Yeah.
And that's why some of the things that we'll say, which with this group is not going to be a problem, but again, with freshmen or sophomores, no skin-tight tank tops that say F you. These are just, you can wear that and down the shore. This is just not.
Don't wear that at
No,
all.
I know you would.
Down
I know you would. Yeah. So these are. So the next one, where I thought about doing what my 6th grade teacher gave us, blank maps of the world, and we wouldn't pass 5th grade. She said if we couldn't fill in the entire map, blank map, that we had to write every country in the world, which nobody could do that. So anyway, you don't have to pass that, but you all hopefully know Guatemala is actually the next country south from Mexico. And we'll get into more of that about Guatemala. But first I want to say a little more about the who our hosts are. And at the end, we have a rough itinerary that you'll see. It's at the very back if you want to cheat. The 3 hosts that we're going to have, and I put them kind of in order of importance to us, but not in order that we're going to see them. The missionary sisters, who are just the coolest and most dedicated, but under the radar screen ladies, almost all of them are so busy working hard that they don't, for instance, update their website. You know,
or have one.
Well, I asked Nancy Costello. I was able to find the other province, but they didn't have anything about Guatemala. And the English part was written by somebody who couldn't really. It's Italian, English. There's several languages.
What province is this?
I can't remember.
Is it connected with anything in the United States?
No.
No.
For some reason, the Stella Maris province that we're in includes Swaziland, but not. And Philippines, but not Central and South America. So I don't know why. Maybe they wanted them intentionally bi-hemispheric. But so they're one of our hosts. We're gonna visit them in 2 sites: Guatemala City, where we land, and another town.
And does anybody up here know people down there well?
Well, Margaret Fox Tully met Sister Concepcion, the one who Margaret said spoke English but refused to speak English to me.
Right.
She'll speak English to you. But she is our coordinator there. Do we know her well? No. But so we're getting to know each other on the phone. And so I can't tell you personality-wise anything about the sisters we'll meet. The other partner, of course, all of you at this table know about CRS. And if some of you were in the room, 2 of you yesterday with the migration conversation
video
about GSN, right? And Michael Sheridan, we may get to see him. He spent a long time in the U.S. and he works with fair trade issues. So we had this great international conversation that came through beautifully.
My students didn't think it came through beautifully. They said they couldn't hear it.
I didn't understand a word he said.
Right.
Really?
Right.
Well, I think
Well, I took
Maureen
notes,
is
yeah.
trying to go down there at the same time, maybe meet up with us too.
Who, Maureen McCullough?
Yeah, I was talking with her at the
Oh,
inauguration.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, how about that? I didn't know. That's
So
really
if you
cool.
wanna contact
Is
her.
Michael Sheridan the country rep?
No,
No?
he's a program person
I
down
see.
there. So the country rep, I'll give you all those names. I don't have them now, but the country rep is eager to see us. We're only going to see them in their office because we have so much else to see, but we want to see them. And they're helping us with orientation. And then one of the major gifts they gave us was we said months back when Dr. Zerk thought of this, they couldn't host us, so we said, help us find somebody who could. And San Lucas Mission is well known for hosting groups either of volunteers or people like us who are learning. So we're very excited about getting to work with them along Lake Atitlan. So even though we never heard of them, I never heard of them before this, they have been around for 35 or so years. In fact, the priest who started it is still there. So it's pretty interesting. That's where we'll stay most of the time. This list of key terms, we won't talk about them now, but at some point you'll hear somebody translate something and you'll think, boy, even in English, I don't know what that means.
Can you just say the words?
The words are, and again, it is in here, and I know they're kind of small in here. The words are partners, just because they're so intentional about that means people in the country who run their own grassroots program. That's what they mean by partners. Lay collaborators, the sisters use that term a lot, and it means non-nuns, people who are not nuns or priests, who are in the community, who they train to work with, let's say, women on this domestic violence workshop, or nurses doing peer education about hygienic ways to deal with newborns.
Or faculty at Cabrini College.
Or faculty at Cabrini College, right. Yes, exactly. We are lay collaborators. Right. Exactly. Anyone who's not one of you are now lay collaborators. All of us.
Is everybody on the trip Catholic except Christine?
I'm not Catholic.
Okay, so you're not Catholic either?
I'm not Catholic.
No,
Oh,
Catholic.
okay.
Jewish.
Christine,
So
what are
those
you?
3 are not Catholic,
I'm not.
and you're not. So the
Yeah.
Catholics they'll be 50-50 Catholic then.
Is
Good,
that
good to
okay?
remember.
Absolutely okay. No.
Good.
Yeah, of course.
Because some of the
But they won't
vocabulary,
know.
that's what I'm saying, some of the vocabulary
Yes.
is very familiar to Catholics.
Oh,
but
I went
not
to
Yes.
all.
Catholic school.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But, and, later I'll talk with you, Kathy, about many of them, they don't really know what Jews are. I mean, I've gone with Lance, my husband's Jewish. Actually, he's landing right now. He just got back from the West Bank. He's landing right now. Yeah. My husband met with a CRS person in Jerusalem. Burku or Bursu.
Oh, really?
Bursu. Yes.
Oh.
Do you remember her?
Yeah.
Well, he saw her. They had coffee together.
Remember her.
Yeah, they had coffee together in the West Bank last week, and I didn't hear all of what they talked about, but he'd be happy. There was like 30 of them that went on this trip, human rights
Didn't
trip.
you say they were like high-fiving them when Obama won or something?
They weren't there then. This was. Oh wait, what am I thinking? Oh, this is in.
Obama.
Yes. Yeah, I think that he was talking about, he wasn't in the Middle East then, but he heard that people were.
Wow.
Yeah, right. You're right. In the Middle East. So we'll see. Yeah.
Jill, you're going to definitely be on the Obama minority on this trip.
Really?
You're what?
I'm a Republican.
Well,
I wouldn't admit it.
Yeah.
I know. I like Obama. I like Obama.
I don't have anything against Obama though. So I guess I'm liberal.
You'll see the lip like that.
Yeah. Well, people may ask you. It'll be interesting because this is definitely a world topic. Yeah. But other words, sustainability. You've heard about that. Empowering people, institutions. Civil society is a term that we don't use. Anybody here take courses in sociology at all?
Yes.
Okay. Do they use that in sociology? Civil society? It basically means anything except government. So civil society, but they will use that phrase meaning we want to strengthen civil society. You're thinking, what is that? And it just means, especially after their civil war, everything from trade unions to women's sewing groups to any kind of club or informal group was threatened or disbanded or is being, bugged to see if they're secretly plotting against the government. So there's a lot of the basic fabric that we take for granted, that I'm part of some group of friends or I'm part of this organization that gets together and does advocacy. All of those kinds of organizations, some with letterheads, some without, have been threatened in many of these cultures. So you'll hear them say, we want to strengthen civil society. In other words, we want to strengthen leadership so people feel they have a voice. They can start a women's collective. They can start a group who was advocating for better education in their school. Things we don't even think about as terms of, if we don't do it, it's because we're too tired or stressed. It's not because we feel threatened. But in a culture like that, people sometimes have felt they don't want to show up above the radar too high, or they may get shot down, not literally, but anymore. But it's scary to them, and that's especially true in Guatemala. In a minute, I'll just show you that about Guatemala having such a high percentage of Mayan descendant people. That's another term that you may hear. Indigenous. You probably know. Really, who are the indigenous people here?
Indians.
The Lenape, how do you say that?
I mean, not Indians. They're not called that.
No, the Native
Americans.
There you go, the Native Americans. So the indigenous people there, whose roots predate the Spanish, the Mayans, there's like 60% of the Guatemalan culture, but they're the 60% who are the poorest. So, anyway.
Have any of you heard of or seen El Norte?
No.
The movie? It's probably in Blockbuster.
Yeah.
It's a feature film and it's really good.
How do you spell
it's
it?
about immigration.
L and then the word Norte, the north.
Yeah.
And that could give you some, and it's about Mayan Indians and.
Are they from Guatemala? I thought they were from Mexico.
Maybe not.
But in any case, the themes are it's a very common story that people are drawn to El Norte, to go north in hopes of healing their lives. So this part now for the next few minutes is mission, and this is the kind of thing that nobody stays up at night saying, oh, I can't wait to read the new curriculum mission statement. And I actually got a physical copy, but I don't know that Dr. George has posted her inaugural speech. She will. That's what I was told.
It's supposed to be done today.
Okay, I didn't try afternoon, but she, that would be, she really just nailed it as far as what our mission is and how that sort of combines social justice and the heritage from the sisters. So I guess it's just good to remind ourselves that as members of the Cabrinian family, we want to be acting with compassion and justice for vulnerable people worldwide. And as their language is to share the love of Jesus with others in ways that honor our own differences, gifts, and needs. So now I'll be honest, I added that last part. But that's because, and I think the sisters would too. Frances Cabrini wrote in an era where, that ecumenism was not so much the thing. But I think the sisters as a whole, and really just about all missionaries who do this frontline work, feel that, the diversity that we bring is part of our strength. So, and as part of this educator of the heart, Justice Matters. Do you all know about that? You know what that is? I did put a page of the new curriculum summary in the book here. But engagements in the common good, committed to lifelong engaged citizenship and solidarity. So when you have a chance, I think this stuff is just so inspiring. On about a page after the PowerPoint is just, I just cut and pasted the Cabrini College mission statement, which by the way is being revised now. I'm on a committee of people we're trying to use the language we use now more, instead of saying that we are striving to be a leader in community service. We're going to update that language to sound more about justice and more about collaboration. It needs, but right now this is what it is.
I think they were all at her inauguration.
Yeah.
So everybody heard her speech.
That's great. But then this next page, the general ed program, that's great, Brittany, thanks, is, I think, just so inspiring. And really, in so many ways, this new ed program comes out of watching you guys. I mean, to watch how you went from kind of discovering your own gifts to sharing them, to realizing you're part of a global community, and then doing something about that, not just parking it in your old blue book pile. That's really what this curriculum is all about doing. So I think, to kind of remind ourselves that you represent one concrete way that the college is looking to see, what does it look like when someone really gets that me, we, community world? What does it look like? Well, it might look like this trip. That's one thing it might look like. So that's part of our mission. And then these next two slides, again, I know this is not the sort of stuff people lie awake reading, but it's very critical to the way Dr. George is thinking about the curriculum and her work. And Catholic social teaching is all about, really, there are many principles, but it's about the study, engagement, or kind of contact, and advocacy based on the dignity of every single person, the common good of all, and solidarity between people, especially with those who are vulnerable. I must say, I have a million, I've taken so many courses in my life, it isn't even funny. I'm kind of an education addict, PhD, and then I got a certificate in this and in something else. But I didn't really get what this was until I went to El Salvador about 10 years ago, and with a group that was building houses after Hurricane Mitch, decked a lot of houses, and the community wouldn't let us finish any of the 5 houses so that they would all be at the same level. Because they felt very strongly, this is our process, this is our community. We don't want anybody feeling like one of us is more important than the other. And yes, it's a little inconvenient, and we know you won't get your photo op. That's not how they put it. But they read our minds, we kind of did want the photo op, with the roof and the, housewarming. They said, no, that's not how we do it. We got through our Civil War looking at the common good, sacrificing, okay, my teenager doesn't need that food as much as your infant. We got through the war that way, we're going to get through our lives this way. And the Americans were kind of, we just haven't, where do you hear that? You just don't hear that kind of thinking. And so in any case, that's the kind of encounter that is why I love going on these trips too, even though I'm a bookaholic. There's nothing like seeing this happening. So And you all will have so many stories when this is over. And then this is language that Dr. George is really introducing to Cabrini College. We haven't used the language of Catholic intellectual tradition, and 4 o'clock on Wednesday is not the time to go into the whole thing, but as a way of, there is a whole body of thinking about it's very much actually rooted in the Jewish tradition, that there's nothing, if God created everything, then one's reason and computers, everything is potentially a way to understand the greater glory of the Creator and this world. So there's this expectation that there's something valuable in every question. There's no bad question. There's no unholy thing. There's just maybe unholy ways of treating those things. But it's a kind of approach that she would like us to start integrating more into our language. So this is kind of new turf for me too, but I figured, Dr. George, we're doing this. And it's all about inquiring minds, developed spirits, and openness to God's presence and love. This is language from Monica Hellwig, who did a lot of work with higher ed in the last few years. And it's not just knowledge and awareness of spiritual presence, but informed, compassionate, and just responses. So again, very Cabrinian. You don't just learn it, you don't just see it, you roll up your sleeves, you get involved. But this is something we're going to learn more about. And this is also her thing. She really wants us to anchor this in the liberal arts tradition, that this isn't just an add-on, that these are really good students, they've got their communication degree, and oh yeah, they have this social justice brownie button that they put on their diploma. No, it's very much integrated into your whole education. And so really this trip is a way to help, and I quoted from, I forgot to put where it came from, but linking campuses to communities to advance reciprocal understanding, productive partnerships, and collective civic action. It's from a book, she'll know, I forgot to add it on there. And that Catholic higher ed has the capability of doing this really well. Here, I'll just add one thing before this is the part you're going to like more because it's about Guatemala. It's very concrete. But how do you go back, actually? I forgot.
The arrow backwards.
Up arrow. Either left arrow or up arrow.
There we go. Okay. One thing, when I was first kind of studying Catholic, when I left being a Catholic for 20 years and then came back. We'll talk about that some other time. But when I came back, one of the things that I learned was that the Catholic reality is very interesting because it's kind of sociologically everywhere. You have very rich cardinals sitting in grand marble entrance houses, and you have people working on the street with the street people, and you have men's clubs, and you have women's rosary associations, and you have a lot of different kinds of organizations, parishes and clubs and dioceses. Structurally, you have a very broad presence in many cultures, and that's it can be potentially just a yawn. They're there like the furniture, or it can be kind of dynamic. And so, to me, I think Catholic higher ed sometimes has thought of itself as just a little, well, we don't care about the rest of the church. But we really could use those Catholic contacts the way we're doing to see and to educate ourselves better and kind of keep the dynamic going. So I'm kind of excited about that. Oops. What I do with Guatemala. Well, and you can see, you look on your map, I guess. These are kind of really pathetic little pale maps there. But has anybody been to, Jerry's been to El Salvador. Has anybody been to Mexico?
I have, but a different.
What part? Cancun?
No, like Cozumel.
Okay. Is that on the Yucatan Peninsula?
I don't know.
Oh, all right. Never mind.
She was in a hotel.
Oh, okay. Whatever. On a beach. Yeah. Okay.
I was in Caracas.
You were in Caracas, Venezuela. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Well, like much of, I kind of put, this one is supposed to be how much Guatemala's like the rest of Latin America, and the next part's kind of how it's a little unique. There are many, Latin America really goes from Mexico down to Chile. It's just huge. And anybody know the one country that doesn't speak Spanish? Brazil. Yeah, which the Portuguese and the Spanish, I guess, drew a line, and the Portuguese got Brazil. So they speak Portuguese, but the rest are Spanish-speaking. They have a very troubled colonial past. Many of the countries in Latin America didn't have independence until fairly recently in the 20th century. So they're fairly new countries, and because of the structure, there's a lot of serious power issues. Almost all of them have a tiny, powerful, rich elite that runs things, and a mass of poor people who have very little power. And that's a huge overgeneralization. You'd flunk your test if you wrote that, and that was it on a Latin American history course. But that's sadly more true than not. So that Guatemala is not unique in that. It also has almost all of Latin America, although there's a surprising energy. Pentecostals are making very big inroads in predominantly Catholic areas. There's also many indigenous religions that are pre-Christian, so that like the Mayan culture does have some of their own religious beliefs and practices. Sometimes it's underground, they don't always show it off, but in some places they're very proud of it, like Peru. And they have tremendous economic challenges. Maybe Venezuela's got the good fortune of having oil. And Hugo Chavez, yes. But most of Latin America doesn't have either they have natural resources that only the elite hold on to, or they don't have them. They just have export crops like coffee and bananas that some of our companies have taken over land. Yeah, so those things are in common, unique to Guatemala within Latin America. It is the largest population in Central America, which is the little kind of belt between Mexico and Venezuela. So it's the largest population. The majority, as I said, is indigenous. They had this ridiculously long, awful civil war from 1960 to 96. It'd be interesting to explore vast numbers of people killed, most of them peasants, 40,000 disappeared people, who many of them not found even now. So, if you do any conversations, and it may be appropriate, you'd want to interview Maria somewhere where we are, and that they'd set that up.
Was this was it a genocide? Was that like in the chart that you showed us in ECG?
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
Mm-hmm.
And there are villages where there have been massacres that have happened. A huge percentage of those who died were the poor, the Mayan population. Although you'll hear other terms, because there's many sort of tribes within that Mayan group. So, and for many of them, Spanish is their second language.
The farmer yesterday.
Yes.
It was his second language.
Right.
So
you'll find that even though you work on your Spanish, there may be some people that will need a different translator because they're speaking Quechua or another indigenous language. So that's their culture is really very beautiful. They do have the widest income gap in the Western Hemisphere, which was interesting. In other words, that doesn't mean they're the poorest, but there's the biggest gap between the very wealthy and the very poor. So those are, not all things that they're thrilled to be unique about. I just said something about that. The fabrics are beautiful, by the way. I mean, just absolutely beautiful, deep, rich colors. Sometime we'll talk about the coffee. That's like a little window into the whole history of the country, that you could kind of tell the whole story of what the colonial powers did at the population there. But we're not going to tell that story now, but it would be kind of a cool, you might want to do that, because we'll see some agriculture work around small farming. And we learned yesterday how critical coffee is actually most found, I didn't know that, on small plantations rather than really large ones. Family farms.
In ECG, I have a 15-minute PBS frontline that I showed students. It's about Guatemalan fair trade coffee. It's very well done. I don't know that I showed it in the SEM you don't remember like a man flying into Guatemala to look at coffee plantations?
You should.
Okay.
You should.
Okay.
Good show,
I'll
too.
say just a little bit about the 3 host groups, and then we're going to shift into the pragmatic stuff. Well, no, we're going to shift into when Marie comes, into why we're going, and then Sue Fitzgerald, our campus nurse. Do any of you know her?
Yeah.
I asked her. I said they're going to get so sick of hearing me talk, and I don't know about medicine anyway. So she's going to come in after Marie leaves and talk about that. Yeah, Jill.
Is it hot in Guatemala all the time? I mean, it's closer to the equator, right? But is it hot all the time?
No,
So
no,
we
because
go
we'll be
up
in the
hot?
mountains a lot of the time. So
They call it eternal spring for San Lucas.
Didn't you say like
Yeah.
87 degrees or something? You're reading it.
Yeah, somewhere
Mhm.
around there.
Right now,
But it's
or
on a
in
resort
February?
lake.
All the time.
it is on
Yeah.
a resort lake. It is. Yes,
How
and
bad
all.
could it be?
7?
Yeah,
What
it
does
is.
that
Awesome.
Well, part of it is a resort, but and this is fun. They're probably going to take us on a boat to some of the villages the
So
second
it's
day we're
not
there.
near the farm.
Yes, there are
farms.
farms there.
So if we wanted to take, we could wake up really early when they're working. We could hit the farm.
In some cases, we could walk to it.
Yeah.
If in San Lucas, yeah. So that's.
So we are near something. We're not secluded.
Well, we're going to go different places, but yeah,
Okay.
you won't. No, we're not going to be secluded really anywhere, because San Lucas is a small town, and I didn't give you a copy of their. I thought it was too soon to give you a micro map of San Lucas, but they gave me. I have it, and I just thought I'd wait and give it to you later.
Are we
It's
gonna
walkable.
Are we gonna be sleeping at different places or?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Well, the first part will be at San Lucas, then we'll be with the sisters,
Mhm.
then we'll be in Guatemala City. So we're not staying in one place.
Okay.
We're moving around. It's going to be a little challenging in that way, but
Are we good to talk about like the itinerary later
yes,
on? Okay.
yes, it's in there. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're just MSCs, just so you know, and again, they do health, nutrition, anti-violence programs they have a rural and a city outreach.
Oh,
Yeah, so we're going to stay overnight in their rural one, Barcenas.
spell that?
Barcenas. I kept saying Barcenas, and the sister said, no, Barcenas. It's near Antigua, which you've probably heard of. Is that where have you been to? No, you didn't go
I
there.
haven't been to Antigua.
Antigua's a really good
Yeah.
place to go to learn Spanish. I know a lot of people who've gone to Antigua for a 3-week language immersion.
So in
Keep meaning to
Barcenas,
do
it's
this.
the
It's the
rural
rural.
domestic violence.
Well, rural, they do 3 kinds of things:
Oh.
health, nutrition, and
At
anti-violence.
both their Guatemala City one and at their
Yes.
Barcenas one.
Right,
And
right.
the
It's right here.
Barcenas is
Yeah.
only for women.
I beg your pardon?
It's only for women.
That's my understanding, but I didn't ask. I was just kind of trying to get basic information from her. She said she only mentioned women. She said we train women, and they run the workshops for women who've experienced domestic violence, for younger women to prevent it, and But I didn't get details yet. We're going to talk again. This was like our first conversation. So, yeah, and then we'll see the urban. There's a huge amount of internal migration within, well, like there is here, really. People in the rural areas don't have land, don't have a job, migrate to the city, and then what? They're a farmer. How are you going to get a job as a farmer in the city? So there's quite a few, again, mostly ethnic Mayan, street people and just poor people who live in Guatemala City. So let's see, Catholic Relief, and I won't go through all that because they do so much. We're not going to actually see any of their programs with their partners because just for sheer time, but it's their website. Just because I figured you'd want to read it on the plane and stuff, I did give you the green pages are CRS. So that's a rundown on what they do and how long, and so I'd encourage you to take a look at that if you have questions for them. And San Lucas, there are, right after the green, there's a write-up on their mission and their understanding of why they do what they do. Some of the language is written as if the person reading it is considering staying there for a year. So you may think, well, why are they telling me this? Things like don't start dating somebody there. Well, I would really be surprised if you start dating in 3 days,
I
but
don't know.
you know, I mean, we'll keep track. Yeah, but I would encourage you to read that. What's interesting about them is this was, it makes me kind of proud. So I'm not always proud to be a Catholic, but in this case, it was the Diocese of New Ulm, Minnesota, rural Minnesota. Does anybody have relatives in Minnesota?
No, never even heard of New Ulm.
It's ULM,
yeah,
which I don't even know. New
no,
Ulm. Well, they apparently in the 60s heard about the Second Vatican Council and the Pope saying that we're part of a worldwide, we should care about each other, not just about, gee, did I go to confession, did I go to church on Sunday, but it's about the world. So they said, well, that's right, it is. Okay, how are we doing that? Let's go to Guatemala. They sent a priest down there. I don't know exactly how he found this community, but ever since the 60s, New Ulm, the Diocese of New Ulm, has had, right now they only pay one person's salary to help manage the partnership. They don't actually, they get grants rather than sending collection box money to them. But that's pretty impressive that they've kept that connection all that time. So that's an example of that Catholic presence thing that these folks way up in Minnesota
Power
made this
partnerships.
connection. Yeah, it really, exactly. So I think that's an interesting story just there. Now, they sent me, I asked, maybe they can't count, I said, would you send me 10 of your brochures? So here's the 10 brochures I got. You can fight over them, or I'll ask for more.
We could scan them and make color copies.
Yeah, because it was kind of an awkward shape to photocopy. I'm going to keep one, but if
well, give me one and I'll make copies.
If you wouldn't mind, I'm sorry. I'm going to ask them again, but.
Now I have a question. I know this really doesn't matter, but the main religion is it Catholic?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So we wouldn't have to worry about too much like tradition crossing. I know societal traditions we have to worry about.
Right.
But we really don't.
Can you give me an example of what you mean, Brittany, when you say...
if she were going to Jerusalem, she would worry about religious tradition.
Not just, I know for like Muslim, if you gotta wear something.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right. To like be respectful of their presence.
No, it's more of a cultural thing.
Okay.
We'll talk about, it's more, but these are great questions. They're really, you're absolutely right. So,
and St. Lucas Mission, the numbers of Americans who go there each year is like 1,000, isn't it? Something
I don't know that.
I saw it on their website.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's something for Brittany to tell her parents that they're used to Americans.
Yes.
Like that, hundreds come.
Yes, that's why we picked them, because CRS. Well, they're not set up really. They've helped us before, but we knew we had kind of a good sized group. And they said this group is so used to visitors, they really know how to combine orienting you and now do they know what to do with videographers? That part I don't know. They'll get that experience with us. But do spend time. They have a terrific website.
I think they all have.
And I just they sent me this physical thing, so you can read that. But the website is out of sight. It's very good. So spend a little time getting familiar with that. Okay. So maybe before. Well, I'm surprised Dr. George isn't here yet.
There's some questions that somebody wrote down.
Yeah, sure. Write down that, and then we'll go over the itinerary and timeline for you.
Give that to Mary.
Yeah. Okay.
See if there's anything.
Yeah, let's see. Get pictures of the main people we'll meet. That's good. I'll see. There may be. Yeah. Safe. That's good. That's what I'm just about to talk about in health. Yeah. Let's see. Well, I could do this or go over the itinerary first, which doesn't really matter. What we have left to talk about are more the pragmatics, the actual itinerary. It's still not set in stone. The safety issues in health. That's kind of the big chunks we have left to talk about. So.
And then will you go over what we need to bring?
Yeah.
Because I know when Chris went to Swaziland, he could only bring a backpack since he brought so much stuff from the marketing department.
And I think that will be the same with us because we're going to have so much video equipment to lug around that we don't want to be worried. Yeah.
Do we know exactly how many days we're going to be there for?
Yeah, well, that's the big $64 question. Maybe let's talk about the itinerary and that right now, and then I guess when Dr. George walks in, we'll stop for a minute. But look at the very last page, that pale orange, very last page in there. This is the tentative itinerary as of yesterday, as of talking to all the people on the down there in the last week. And originally we were just going to make this Monday the 9th to Friday the 13th, and that was going to be almost impossible to really see the sisters, or it was just too hard. And so now I haven't bought tickets yet. When I do, then we're going to be kind of in showtime, because the tickets are non-refundable. You can change them, but it's expensive, especially if you multiply it by 10. So my thought was, when I talked to the people at San Lucas, they said, well, why don't you come Saturday? It'll take you basically the whole day to get from here to Guatemala City and drive 3 hours from the airport to Lake Atitlan, which is where it is. It's a beautiful spot. That day is like shot with travel. The next day is Sunday, which is generally a slower day anyway. He said as part of the day, he would take us on a boat to visit some of the villages around the lake, which sounds awesome. I mean, who could say no to that? Yeah. I could be a taskmaster and a pain, but I'm definitely not going to say no to that. So that sounded appealing. And then we'd have the next 2 full days in Mission San Lucas. Then we'd go to visit the sisters in their rural site. So, I mean, I know this, how in the world would you be able to process this to give me feedback, but you can process how you feel about the dates.
I think it's wonderful. I love the fact that we're going to go to the MSCs in the rural area and stay overnight with the sisters. I think it's awesome.
Well, I wasn't sure they would be set up for that, and I made Father Michael, I made him say it, so I wasn't sure if I said it right, but I wanted to be sure we weren't kicking any nuns out of their beds. You know, how some people are so nice that you, and then you find out that their kids are sleeping on the floor. And, no, and they promised me that wouldn't happen. So I told them, we are muy duro, we're very rugged. You are, right? You're rugged, right? Proceed.
What's the time difference? Sorry.
It's only 2 hours.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's only 2 hours.
Because we're in the same latitude.
Almost.
Do you know how long the flight is?
Well, we don't have tickets yet. You cannot fly straight from Philadelphia to Guatemala City. Most of the ones I've looked at are to Atlanta, which is, 2 hours or something? And then it's about 4 hours, 4 or 5. It's not terrible.
Okay.
It's not that.
No.
It's not terrible.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
Do they have electricity? Can we charge stuff?
Would you put those technical questions on there, Kathy? There's a whole bunch of those kind of things we're going to need to know. Like,
what if we got there and we were going to charge anything?
Yeah, exactly.
Then we'd have a fun trip cycle.
Who's good at drawing? We'll bring one of the graphic. Somebody here knows how to draw. I'm good at stick figures.
I'm not even good at stick figures.
What we need to remember is to bring a power strip, so we can they might just have like one outlet, and then we can plug multiple things into the power strip.
Even
so make
power
notes.
Adapter, because I know my...
Oh yeah, of course you need it.
For everything.
My grandparents went and their clock blew up or something.
Right, so you'll want to do that. But I just want to stick on this one more minute. This means being gone for 8 days, actually.
You'll be home on Valentine's Day.
You'll be home by
I don't have anybody to be a Valentine, so that's all right.
Oh, you're our Valentine.
Thank you.
So we would live...
Thanks, Mom.
We would leave in the morning on Valentine's Day?
Yes.
Okay.
Don't book dinner. You never know.
I just volunteered to be in admissions the 14th, so I was like, Jill, do you think we'll be
No. You want to take
You're
a couple days.
You're
You're going to sleep for a couple days.
Now, it is possible we could get a red-eye the 13th, the night of the 13th.
No.
Okay.
I have a
Throwing
question.
it out there, but
On Thursday, the 12th, it says PM drive to Guatemala City. Does that mean it's really far?
It's about on the 12th. It's about an hour and a half from the rural area where the Cabrini sisters are into the city. So it's about an hour and a half. The biggest trip it's a 3-hour drive from.
It's a drive.
I should have given you a better map because this doesn't really help you. Next time I'll give you a better, more close-up map. It's 3 hours from Guatemala City, where we land, to Atitlan, San Lucas. That's the long haul.
And you can actually book that van on the San Lucas website.
Yeah, I'm doing it through their
Through them,
coordinator.
yeah.
Yeah, but
That's nice.
we may need 2 vans, one
Could,
for, yeah.
with the equipment
So-
and everything.
Is community mass on Sunday going to be a big thing? I don't know this whole
Yeah.
father. I don't get that. I don't
You
Yeah.
know
don't
it.
have to. I think
No,
it's a lot.
Catherine's not gonna
Okay,
do it
I'm just.
You and I
I'm not.
we'll stick together.
And you know what?
Encounter.
I put that in there without knowing. Let's put it this way: if we were going on a trip here that was, like normally, if you go on a tour, people don't say, "Okay, everybody has to go to church." Of course, you would never say that. In this case, it would be a community
Right.
gesture
Okay.
on our part to sort of be in solidarity with them. And I've always been with people who are of every different faith, Jewish and, you know, Protestant.
You probably
or no
find the
faith.
rituals actually very interesting.
Wait, I mean, I wouldn't mind going. I just don't want to offend
You
them
don't
in
have
any
to.
way.
No.
It's fun.
Okay.
No,
That
those are
makes me
really
feel
good questions, though, Jill. I appreciate you raising them, but you don't have to worry. No. In
Okay.
fact, you know, some of the masses I've been to, I've never been to Guatemala, but the one that I went to in Juarez, dogs were running in and out of the church, and, you know, it was, they're all open air and very enthusiastic, and people are, it's not formal and stuffy feeling. It's just sort of part of who they are, and they like to sing their heart out. And so I don't know even what time it is. I just thought I was pretty sure there would be one, and it's probably not a good. It'd probably be a good thing to see.
Yeah.
So if you're, the reason I keep coming back to it is once I book the tickets, I don't want to hear, oh, I forgot that's my father's birthday, or I mean the usual
Who cares
thing. I'm
about
not
that?
trying. Oh my gosh, this is
Mary, you're
terrible.
getting all of us.
No, okay. Well, Jill, you know why I'm saying it though, because there could be
Yeah.
or something serious. I'm being.
I mean,
lighthearted,
unless
but-
it's a valid excuse, like knock on wood, God forbid, that someone pisses away or something. But I
Mhm.
mean, other than that, I
I
mean,
don't think we're gonna.
a hurricane. I think you got us all. I mean, none of us
Yeah.
are backing
Okay.
out.
Well, I'm just, you know, I've been in many situations where the day after a ticket, somebody says, "Oh, I completely forgot," you know. So I'm putting it on you all to kind of think of all the corners of your life. Of course, nobody can do anything about health, you know. If
But like
something happens.
grandparents' 50th anniversary, some celebration,
no,
just
I
make
know.
sure that none of that stuff is going to
That already
happen.
happened.
That already happened.
Okay.
I give you
Okay.
permission to
Yeah.
slap one of us, and
All
we'll
right.
tell you that
I
right
know.
now.
I'll delegate you, Jill. All right, well, then I feel deputized to go
I have-
ahead and book these.
I have a
then.
little question about the
Yes.
itinerary.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna sound really like naive or whatever,
That's all right.
but it says PM drive
Uh-huh.
to Guatemala City.
Oh, I asked
We
that
just asked
already.
that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
What?
Is it,
It's
no,
about an hour and a half, 3
No,
hours.
like-
Oh.
Is it safe to drive at night?
Well, you're right. It isn't particularly safe. So this is afternoon, not night. No, we're not going to be driving at night.
okay. I saw PM and I was like,
No,
And then that means we're staying overnight, right?
that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay.
No, I mean, and that's travel essentials, health. The next slide is about safety.
Now that's
the one you're not
that's
gonna
my
like.
mom's biggest
Yeah.
Yeah.
concern is
I
health
understand.
and
I'm going to skip this one because Sue's going to come in and do the health part. Travel. Oh, well, all right. You've all got to give me a copy of your passport. Like,
Okay.
as
The
soon as
inside.
possible.
The
The inside that has
inside
your
one of
picture
Where
and
the
the
picture
number.
is.
Your funny
Okay.
And
picture.
please,
Both
please
pages.
look.
Both.
Poor Jess Zaratny 2 years ago didn't realize
Yeah, I heard
that,
about that.
in passports say like they put the day first and then the month.
Mhm.
So I don't know. She somehow her parents said, "Oh yeah, it's fine." Well, she looked at it; it was expired.
oh no.
So you want to be extra.
Oh, aren't you special?
Wow.
Well.
I'm impressed, Christine.
Yeah, can we see what it looks like?
Yeah, let's
And
laugh
this is
at her.
even color. Wow.
I look
Whoa.
so angry.
Yeah.
Can you pass that? I want to see the
Come in.
Okay.
Is that a problem?
Yes. No, it's not a problem.
Okay.
It's you're going to want to keep a photocopy. You're going to want to give one to your parents. In my family, we had a member of my family who decided that he did not need to put his passport in anything but his LLB pocket. And of course, somebody decided they would take it. And it's a good thing we had a
Costa
copy.
Rica.
Did you? And did you have a
Oh,
copy?
you did?
You didn't. Okay.
Whoa.
How did
I'm
you
like
get
a
home?
Colombian drug dealer, I think. Yeah.
Oh.
When I get home, I had to fly to the capital of Costa Rica and go to the U.S.
It was actually really easy to get another passport. To
Really?
the truth. Yeah, I was so surprised.
Yeah, but it grew in 2 days.
Right, I had to
Yeah.
fly there.
Yeah.
It cost me $300 to take like a little tiny plane that was like this.
Yeah.
And I was scared.
Wow.
You don't want to lose it if
Yeah.
you can possibly
It
help
was
it, but having
$100
this,
to get a new one.
yeah, right, and yeah, we spent an extra 2 days of our supposed
Could we-
vacation.
Can I
in
just
Marseille.
give a tip?
Yeah.
I go to a travel store and you can buy like a little travel belt and you can put it over your belt, and I put it inside here, and I keep my wallet and my passport inside. And
Right,
you can also get them on a string that you put around your neck and it goes.
right,
Okay.
down.
How
Right.
about money?
yeah. Well, money, that's a good question. You won't need any money unless we go to
Except for
tourist
gifts.
places.
There'll be
Trinkets.
ATM machines that you can get
Now,
some money out of.
What's the currency? Is it a difference?
Yeah,
Like, I mean, I understand the dollar's very weak,
Right.
but
Yeah.
do you know
I
what the
can't
difference
remember
is
what
now?
it
So
Yeah.
we're not
Yeah.
buying for food or anything like that?
well, that's gonna be provided as part of our group.
Right.
Yeah, so
Okay.
there's gonna be virtually no meals that we are not
Yeah.
being
Wow.
hosted somewhere.
But you want to buy like a gift for your
Yeah.
parents and
Yeah,
things like that.
So-
That's going to really be your only expenses.
Right, right.
Okay.
And, yeah. So, but as far as the safety thing, let me just get to that. I will also, I don't now, but will give you a form. I need a sheet that has your emergency contact information. There's a health form that I'm gonna get from Sue Fitzgerald that we just have to have. There's a release form that says you won't sue Cabrini College and the sisters and me, and, it says all that stuff. There's a few of those forms you'll have to complete. That's kind of just boring, but
My uncle
safety.
went to Guatemala.
The what?
My
He did?
uncle went to
Yeah.
Guatemala, and he needed the malaria shot.
Yeah.
Are we gonna need shots?
Well, I'm waiting for Sue to come in.
Okay.
She's going to talk about all the med stuff.
Because
So,
he got the malaria shot, went to Guatemala, came back and said he had malaria. So I mean, he doesn't have malaria, he just had gotten really sick from being in
Yeah.
Guatemala.
I didn't
Huh.
know the shot. I
So-
know the pills.
Well, there's a shot that you
Is
take
there?
from malaria too. So I'm just.
I don't know about that. I know that, well, Sue will discuss it, but we have found that when it comes to the malaria issue, and we're not going to be in the malaria prone area, is that the main issue is protect yourself from mosquito bites.
Yeah.
And which is why
Very
wearing long sleeves, light clothes, long, and bringing some stuff is just that's the answer, because it's very hard to argue with that. So she'll talk more about the health stuff. Safety, I'll be honest, I want everybody to read. I mean, I think it's in here. I don't think I gave it I didn't put it on here. You need to, you're all grown-ups, you're all going on this. You need to read the State Department, the U.S. DOS, the U.S. Department of State page, has a country page for each country. Let's see if I included this someplace. I will email it to you if I don't have it in here. And they give their own little U.S. tilted history of the country. Sometimes
CIA has it.
yes. So they don't always say things like, we really blew it on supporting the military, and they never say that. But I'm referring right now about safety. They will have a section, and they will tell you that there is a problem with violence in Guatemala. There is in most of Central America.
And in North Philadelphia.
So I'm just saying, truth or consequences. If anybody tells you, oh yeah, you can walk out at night and go to the bars in Guatemala City by yourself,
No.
only if you have a death wish. You can't do that. You can't do that.
Nor
But-
would you if you went to LaSalle or Temple.
Yeah.
Go out to.
No, you can't do that. You just can't do
I
it.
think it's important though to say that we're going to
Yeah.
be with people who
Yes.
live in Guatemala all
Right.
the time.
Right.
And they always know what you
Yes.
can do and you can't do.
That's right. And that's why the whole key to this is the partners.
Right.
And that goes not only for social justice, but for comforting your parents
Right.
about, we would never do this if we didn't have CRS, if we didn't have the sisters, and if CRS didn't tell us that San Lucas is absolutely top notch.
Right.
That's been around for 36 years. So that's right. There are dangers, but we know what to do to avoid them. We won't be driving at night. We will listen to what they tell us to do. It's another reason why dressing modestly is sensible. None of you do it anyway, but
No, but even sometimes you don't realize, because when I went
Yeah.
to Ecuador, they told me that I had like soccer shorts on, and I didn't think they were short, and they said they were too short.
Yeah.
And then just like guys are
Yeah.
like, you know, they see American women and they're like crazy, and no jewelry at all, like no earrings,
No,
nothing.
don't even pack.
Even like cheap, like this is worth nothing, but they're not supposed to wear anything.
Well, it's simpler. You don't have the temptation. I usually leave my engagement ring at home in a safe, you know. It just why even worry about that? It's just that's what it is. So there is a high level of violence. Sadly, the vast majority of it, as in many of our cities, is internal. You know, domestic. You know, drug deals gone bad. But there also is a very sad little subplot that. Do any of you know anybody has a Guatemalan adopted child?
I babysat too. Actually, which I have to leave to go do that.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
Okay. And doesn't
10 minutes.
Lisa Lerner, is
Yes.
it a child
Yes.
from David
Yes.
from Guatemala?
You're right.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because this won't affect us really, but I was sad to learn that because Guatemala has been very liberal about their adoption policies, there are some, especially rural villages, that especially if they see couples coming to town, they put their kids, they lock their doors because they have heard that Americans kidnap children and sell them. That's what they've heard.
And that's where if you go to the State Department website, they tell you that's why you can't always take pictures of children.
Right.
If you do that, then people get suspicious in some places. But I'm sure our host will tell us.
Yes, they will. But it's one of those situations where, you know, you think to yourself, when you do that whole social justice thing of asking for the root cause, you know, why would people be giving their children up? Because most of those children are not orphans, you know. And I don't know all the answers to that, but it does make you stop and think about issues that a poor country has that a mother would be worried for you taking a picture of her child. That is even a worry really is sobering to think about. But, you know, back to the safety issue, again, it's trusting, listening. You know, if they say, you know, I know you're just walking across the street to get one thing, you're going with this guy and our staff. You know, whatever they tell us to do or not do, no matter how old we are, that's how it's going to be. And that goes for every one of us. I'm not going to say, well, I'm above this. No. Even though as young, attractive, you know, females, you're probably in a different kind of risk group than I am. But, yeah, but, you know, which is why I would urge you really to dress super modestly. Things that we think nothing of, kind of tank tops.
Now, will we have to wear capri shirts?
Those look really good in the pictures, you know.
Can we get 3 ones?
But now this has nothing to do with safety.
Yeah.
Come on,
get like 5 t-shirts.
Yeah. 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I was just wondering, like, how's their service down there? Because I feel like if 4 days go by and my parents are like, "Oh my God, I didn't talk to Brittany. Did you talk to Brittany?"
You can text your parents for like under 20 cents, like 25 cents for a text message.
We're bringing our
Well,
cell
wait a
phones?
minute.
I'm not bringing
On what?
Yeah.
On your cell phone.
It'll work there?
If you're in a Wi-Fi area, yeah.
Which, being in a Wi-Fi area, I don't know if we'll be in.
Well, then can't we take
in Guatemala City?
Can we
but
buy
we'll
like
only
an
be there.
international
Phone
calling
cards?
card and?
I just know
Yeah.
that Joyce will have
Write
our
that down on the
phone.
question page. Write down, because what I'll do is ask.
Our parents.
What?
This video.
Yeah.
I think we should.
Yeah, okay.
If you
put
want to
that
talk
down.
about your parent, could we just go around? I'd
Sure.
like to get a reading on
Yeah.
your family comfort level, just so we're kind of. You want to start?
Oh, sure. My parents are totally cool with it.
Megan, would you turn the camera around to each person now?
Hi. My parents are cool.
Have you told them?
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. I think that I keep saying stuff like randomly to them, and they're just getting more and more comfortable with it. So I think that they would feel more comfortable if you were saying it instead of me. But
Okay.
Yeah, can we have a parent meeting one night, maybe?
Sure.
If you want,
Yeah,
sure.
I would like that.
that would
Sure.
be nice.
Well,
I think
tell
that
them-
they would have more.
Yeah, if you would, I'll put it, I'm happy to be there for it and
Yeah.
talk to them, but I would ask you all to figure out when,
Okay.
okay?
Megan?
Yeah.
I just want to. Have your parents ever traveled abroad?
They went to London once. I've never been off the East Coast though.
Okay.
So
Okay. And be sure, you know, when they say they're cool with it, I'm a parent too, and I know I think you do owe it to them to tell them, now we know that is a country, because they'll be somewhere, oh, I heard Guatemala has a very high crime rate. And she said, oh, Kara didn't say anything about that. Just say, we know there are risks, but that's why we're working with well-known NGOs that we're trusting and we will spend the whole time with. So I just don't want them to think we're editing what we tell them.
Right.
So.
My parents, they kind of think I'm crazy, but they know at this point there's nothing going to stop me from not going, so they've accepted it. They're really worried about it, but at this point, like, they know, like, Megan's going, and, like, they're getting more comfortable with it. Like, I've kind of broken them into it way back when it was still an idea, so they're getting comfortable with it, but they're still, like, not. They get it. Like, they know I'm going. They support that I'm going, but the whole idea of it, they're